Right, hello and welcome to Science Mr. Robertson once again for another homework video for Year 6. Now, we've already spoke in class about the word adaptations. The idea of different species, different living things being adapted or different to make them good at their job. I want to talk today about all the different ways plants are good and have many adaptations for photosynthesis. So that's the first part of what I'm talking about today, these adaptations of photosynthesis. Now, we've already discussed a few of these in class. We've already seen, for example, how the root cell often looks like this, those in the roots to draw the water, because now it has a high surface area, lots of area around it, so that now there's even more places to absorb water, meaning the plant can get even more water. Remember, those things the plants need to do photosynthesis. They need to have carbon dioxide, they need to have water, and they need to have sunlight. So all the things I'm talking about are important for one of these factors. It's important to think firstly about how that water actually gets up to the leaf. It needs to go from the roots down low, up high to the leaves. It has special tubes that do this, and they are called a horrible science word called xylem. Xylem. So these tubes go all the way from the roots up the stem, up to the leaves of the plant, all the way from top to bottom. And what makes them so effective is that they act on suction. They work similar to how you drink with a straw. As some water leaves, more water is pulled upwards by the suction. So you always have a flow of water coming up towards the plant. So that's from water. We need water. We also need sunlight. Now remember, in the plant leaf cell, there's lots of things called chloroplasts. It's this part of the cell where lots of photosynthesis happens. This is what gives leaves their bright green colour. Now here's some obvious things. If the sunlight's coming from up there, and it usually goes upwards, do I want to go for chloroplasts near the surface or down low? Of course they're up high. As many chloroplasts as possible are close to that surface of the leaf. And also, think about the shape of a leaf. It's often something like this here. It's really thin, but has a high surface area. A phrase we'll see over and over again in science class. With that high surface area, now it's possible for even more light to hit on that leaf, so even more photosynthesis can be done. H2O, sunlight, we've got them covered. CO2 is a bit trickier, because CO2 is in the air, and as you'll know, if you have clothes that are really wet, you leave them outside to dry. Water can evaporate. Water can be taken up into the atmosphere as a vapour. That's not good, because we need water for photosynthesis. We need to keep it. So we need to make sure to have a balance. What we have on the leaves are, we have many underneath the leaves, many tiny little holes. They're called stomata. And stomata are these tiny holes that are underneath the leaf. So if I have a leaf like this here, I could have all my normal plant cells at the top with all my chloroplasts, and then there's some spongy material here, lots of gaps in between, and then you have a layer at the bottom that looks a little bit like this here. Of course, people, don't be afraid, there are links in school stuff with much better pictures than the one I have here. But what this is called here, these are the guard cells. And they control how much carbon dioxide can come in and out of the cell. Because there's no sunlight at night. So why do I want to do photosynthesis? I'd love to, but I can't do it. So at night, in many plants, these close, especially in the desert. We have to make sure, because if we can let carbon dioxide in, that's good, but we also, water can escape from here. We don't want the water to escape. So we need to control and limit how much carbon dioxide comes in and out of the plant. CO2, of course, comes in, and of course coming out of there is the waste product of oxygen. But guard cells are very important, and of course they're very adaptable for different plants living in different conditions. Not so important in rainforests perhaps, but vitally important to control just exactly how much they're open in a plant living in the desert. Otherwise it will just lose too much water. Wonderful. That's lots of stuff there about plants. We need plants to live. Absolutely, 100%. Because if plants die, there's no food. We need plants to produce food for us. We call them producers. Everything else, like an animal, is known as a consumer. It might eat other plants, it might eat other animals, but they eat other living things. That's one thing animals all do. Fungi are actually usually something different. They're actually usually something called a decomposer. One of my favourite science words that I love to write songs. I love to compose songs, we can say. If you decompose something, you break it into small chunks. So anything that is a fungi, so mushrooms for example, they work and live by breaking down living things into smaller chunks and getting energy from them that way. Quite disgusting. But this here can't work without this here. Photosynthesis is definitely the most important equation we have for life, alongside respiration. The two work hand in hand. Respiration to give us energy to live, and of course photosynthesis to actually produce a store of the energy so that we can use it whenever we want. Wonderful. Thank you for watching the video. Good luck for the checkpoint on your homeworks next week.